Dr. Jekyll, in the form of Mr. Hyde, flees a mob.
He won't get away this time. Let him burn in there.
A few moments ago, he was unrecognizable. Horrible, even to me. And now...
And now you're looking at the man, not the legend.
Dr. Lanyon, from Inspector Gray, sir.
Thank you.
At 49 Soho Court, Dr. Lanyon and John Utterson would see the remains of Mrs. Henry Jekyll, slain at her husband's hand.
Hello, Dr. Lanyon. If we'd taken your advice, we might have saved her from Hyde.
Nobody could have, Inspector. It was inevitable. The child all right?
Untouched. Found him hidden in there.
Utterson, come and see young Jekyll. Or young Hyde.
He looks normal.
So he does. Inspector, this is John Utterson, who handled Dr. Jekyll's legal affairs.
We're anxious to get the child out of here right away. I'll file the necessary documents in due course.
Certainly, sir.
I wish I could bring him up myself.
Well, aren't you?
What sort of home could I give him? A bachelor. Why,
But you were Henry's best friend. He named you executor and guardian.
I know, and I hate to see him brought up by strangers. If only I were a married man, like you.
Oh, no.
Why not? You and Helen have wanted a child for years.
Oh, I realize that. But what if he inherits his father's...
Rot. Like you and me, he'll be what the world makes of him.
I suppose so.
And so, prodded by Dr. Lanyon, Jekyll's trusted friend, John Utterson did adopt the boy, in secret, to protect him from notoriety. 30 years would pass.
This is rather an odd piece of writing. Listen for a moment. 30 years ago, a mysteriously orphaned baby was legally adopted by the prominent attorney John Utterson. This boy, Edward, loved and educated by the Utterson family, today repaid their kindness by being dismissed from the Royal Academy of Science. The Board of Governors asked for his resignation after he deliberately flaunted their authority and refused to discontinue experiments bordering on witchcraft.
And at the Royal Academy of Science, where Edward Jekyll had been a student.
Lynn, darling, did you get my note?
Edward, I can't believe it. What happened?
Simple. I resigned.
But why?
Because I'm a devil's advocate. Or maybe the devil himself. Right, Alec?
Then you should have heard the way he told them off.
But he's right in the middle of some important discoveries.
According to them, I was wasting their money. It was either their way or not at all. The head poobah accused us of violating the laws of nature, and the little poobahs ordered us to improve the old species before inventing new ones.
And your work?
Oh, I'm not giving it up.
What now?
Well, I thought I'd find some small college on the continent.
Edward, you're not going away.
Well, what I mean is, why can't we get married and both go abroad?
Alec, you heard him. You're my witness.
Not until his return home would young Jekyll learn from aging Dr. Lanyon the tragic story of his parents.
Think of the man, not the legend. Lonely, tortured. And when even she began to doubt him, his world crumbled, and a moment's insanity, that's all it was.
Don't try to soften it, Kurt.
But it can't affect you. You know the laws of heredity. What are the odds? 1 in 1,000, 1 in 10,000.
What you mean is, there's always that chance.
What I mean is, There's always that risk in every human being, but few succumb.
Well, I must tell Lynn. She has a right to know.
Yes, of course. Go ahead.
Oh, you mentioned you had the key to the old house. May I have it?
It's yours. But do as John and I urge. Let's continue as we have been. Bury the past. You'll save yourself a lot of misery.
You've been very kind, Kurt. But it's my problem. I'll meet it my way.
That night, Jekyll returned to his father's laboratory, where no one had entered in 30 years. He knew that sooner or later he would have to prove he was normal, and do it by demonstrating that his father was a sane man, temporarily affected by a drug. But what was the mysterious drug? A visit to the Sorrels in Soho Court, where his mother had been murdered by the elder Jekyll, revealed nothing. He would have to find the drug as his father had, by trial and error. Then, one night... The intruder was Dr. Lanyon. He would add a drug quietly as Jekyll slept. The next morning...
My object in bringing you here is to demonstrate my father's experiment. Not the legend, but the scientific actuality. This morning his experiment worked. It produced astonishing results.
Like a case of the little man who wasn't there, wouldn't you say?
Edward,
Don't be a fool, Lynn. Haven't you seen enough?
I see only what I'm looking at. the man I'm going to marry.
My mother refused to believe, and don't wait for the last.
Edward.
Then let him go. Mistakes happen. He'll get over it.
Mr. Jekyll,
Yes?
remember me?
Of course, Mr. Sorrell.
That's right. Sorry about that night. Lottie found an old scrapbook of your mother's. Thought you might like to see it sometime.
I'd like to very much. When?
Well, not now.
Later that night,
Hey, what goes on here? Step aside now, step aside.
Better stick close, sir. The inspector's waiting inside.
The inspector.
Yes, sir. All right, stand back now. Stand back there.
What's your version of this, Jekyll?
How come you didn't kill him, Jekyll?
Mr. Jekyll? Yes? I'm Inspector Stoddard. I have a warrant for your arrest.
at the trial, Mrs. Hazel Sorrell would testify against Edward Jekyll, saying that he had left the Sorrell house earlier than he actually did.
One moment, Mrs. Sorrell. You say you knew the time because you heard the clock at Westminster striking.
Yes, sir.
Now, did you hear it distinctly or faintly?
Faintly.
But isn't it true, as Mr. Jekyll stated, that your husband was playing the concertina at the time?
Joe, I don't recall.
Could that be another convenient lapse of memory, Mrs. Sorrell?
Edward Jekyll would be released in Dr. Lanyon's custody. He knew the Sorrells were lying, but why? They moved quietly out of Soho into the countryside, where Edward would pick up their trail by purchasing a concertina, then confronting Hazel Sorrell.
What are you doing with her?
Talking?
What do you say?
Nothing.
You get back to the house.
We were talking about you, and how much it would cost for your wife to tell the truth.
Tried to do me in, just because of that trial. You want to lodge charges? No. Let him go back to the asylum. That's where he belongs.
Hey, you better come along with me until I can get word to London.
You bother my wife again and I'll kill you. And the law will be on my side.
You forgot something.
Cheer up, Edward. You've lost nothing.
Seems to me it's everything.
Well, you had to try.
Good. I frightened him off with that rotten temper of mine.
You forgot this, then.
Keep it.
Guard, sir. Rules. Prisoner's property.
It's from Hazel. I knew she'd help. She wants me to meet her at 9 o'clock tonight at her old flat.
9 o'clock. Hazel's old flat. 30 years after the slaying of Edward Jekyll's mother, Inspector Gray recalled Dr. Lanyon to the very same flat.
She's dead, Hazel's dead.
Complaining won't bring her back.
You forced him to it, you with your schemes to drive him mad. I've half a mind to tell the coppers.
The other half hopes the corpse will pay an extra dividend, is that it?
And why not?
We made our arrangements, Joe. This is your chance. Either be rich and silent or speak out and run the risk of being involved as my accomplice in murder. Well, Inspector, I thought I'd go along with you.
Splendid.
Thank you.
Later, at Dr. Lanyon's home,
Look, darling. The gaslight. It was on, yet the match in her hand hadn't been used. I know who killed her, and I'm going to prove it.
Gone to the police as you promised. All I wanted to do was to destroy my copy. Now I'm afraid I'll have to destroy more than that.
Why did you do it, Kurt?
I had to use the Jekyll estate to get back what I'd lost.
And my father's serum. You used that too, didn't you?
Oh, no. All I need to create a monster is a pennyworth of paint and a lot of hysteria. Would you put it down, Edward? On the table, please.
While Dr. Lanyon was trapped, fortunately, Jekyll was being carried safely to the street with moments to spare.
Here you are, Inspector. My father's manuscript, and the one that Lanyon forged.
Look, the flames will get him.
Enough light for everyone to see the truth.
Edward was cleared. So ended the strange case of the son of Dr. Jekyll.